Hello everyone, welcome to lesson 6 from chapter 4, found on page 305. Divide whole numbers by fractions. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're going to do here. We have to first look at the vocabulary where we look at reciprocals. And reciprocal, when we talk about that, we're really just talking about flipping it. Remember when we flip the second fraction so that we can then turn it into multiplication? The reciprocal is when the reciprocal number is the same number but opposite, if that makes any sense. So here we have, for example, the definition. Any two numbers with a product of 1 are called reciprocals. So for example, if I have, let's say, 2/3, right? And I multiply it, because it's a product that we're looking for, times 3/2, which this is the flipped version of this. You see the 3's on the top now and the 2's on the bottom. It's opposite. We're going to get, on the top we're going to get 6, and the bottom we will get 6, right? And that is 1. 6/6 is a whole, it's 1. So that's what they mean by that. Complete the table below by finding the reciprocal of 2/3. Use the guess, check, and revise strategy. The first one has been done for you. So we have a half, and then we have a half times 2 equals 1. Yes, because we put the 2 on the top and the 1 on the bottom. So now we have 2/3. 2/3 times, well, we just did it together, right? Let's do it again. 2/3 times 3/2. Well, it's going to equal, here it'll equal 6, and this one will equal 6. So it's 6/6 equals 1. Or we can say 6/6, right? Oh, what is the reciprocal? Sorry. The reciprocal is 3/2. Describe the relationship between the numerator and the denominator of a number and its reciprocal. Well, it's the same, but except they're flipped over, right? They're flipped around. So we can say that the numerator and the denominator change positions. Please copy this as a key answer. Okay, exactly as you see it. Let's look at the real world link. Another name for reciprocal is multiplicative inverse. This is important, boys and girls. Please circle it, as we will be using this term in class often. Use the multiplicative inverse. Okay? What are some words in everyday language that are similar to reciprocal inverse? These are also key answers right here. Invert is one word. Invert means to flip around. Reciprocity. Now this means to kind of put back how it was, because when you flip or invert the second fraction and you multiply through, you'll notice that you're going to get a whole number. And the verb is reciprocate. Okay, so all these three words can mean reciprocal or are related to reciprocal multiplicative inverse. Okay, this is a key answer as well. Please have those three words written in there. Pilots can fly in an inverted position, or what we call upside down. How can you use the everyday meaning of invert to help you remember the mathematical meaning of multiplicative inverse or reciprocal? The top and the bottom of the plane trade places. We say it inverts or it flips. In the reciprocal, the numerator and the denominator of a number invert or they trade places. That's the multiplicative inverse. Please copy this down for a key answer. Next page. Well, you already know that when we are, all whole numbers are over 1. We just don't write it over 1. For example, like 2 is over 1. 3, 4, 5, all these numbers, they're all over 1. But we just don't write the over 1, right? We simply just write them as a whole number. But because they're all divided by 1, makes them the number the same. So really, if I want to find the reciprocal of 2, 2 is 2 over 1, right? Well, the reciprocal is going to be 1/2, right? Same with 3. 3 will be over 1 and under 1. 4 over here will be also under 1, and 5 will be under 1. That's the reciprocal to all of these numbers. So when we divide 3 by a half, it gives the same result as multiplying 3 by 2. So here we're multiplying while here we're dividing, which is the reciprocal of a half. Any two numbers with a product of 1 are called reciprocals. What they mean is this, boys and girls. Let's say we're going to divide 3 divided by a half. What we actually do is we change the dividing sign to multiplication, as you see that. Right? So we replace it. And then we take the 2 over 1 and we flip it. You see that? So it gives us 6. Or over here, it gives us 6. Let's practice this with number 3, example 3. So we see here that we have a 5. And we want to write it as a reciprocal. So it's, actually we write it as a whole number with a fraction. So we write it with a 1 under it. Find the missing factors. So what we have is, we have 5 over 1, right? Times the reciprocal, which is 1 over 5. And when we multiply, we get 5, right? I'll just do it over here like this. 5, and 1 times 5 is 5. And you know that's a whole number, right? 5 out of 5 is 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So the reciprocal of 5 is 1 over 5. We know this, right? Let's try the questions. So find the reciprocal. The reciprocal would be, well, actually no, we can't put equal because they're not equal to one another. What we're going to do is we're going to pretend we're going to multiply them, and it's 5 over 3, which equals 1. Okay. Over here, it would be, I did it again. 3 over 1, which is 3 over 3, which equals 1. And then over here, 11. 11 over 1 times 1 over 11, which equals 11 out of 11, which equals 1. And now I think we're ready to divide fractions. So when we're going to divide, let's say 5 divided by 2/3, what we're going to do is just change it to a multiplication sign and then flip the second fraction, so invert it, or what we say, we multiply it by its reciprocal or multiplicative inverse. There's so many names, but really at the end of the day, all we're doing is we're flipping it. We're putting the 2 at the bottom and the 3 on the top instead of this one that we have here. And then we just multiply straight across, and we do 5, and we get 15. Right? 5 times 3 is 15, and 1 times 2 is 2. And then we change that to a mixed number, and how many 2's are in 15? We have 7 of them. We have 1 left over, and we have 2. So when we divide 5 divided by 2/3, we're going to get 7.5. Okay, I'm jumping ahead to example 5. I want you to please take a look at example 4 on your own so you can understand the method 1 and method 2. But please, you can pause the video now if you want to read through example 4. Alright, number 5. Let's take a look at it. We have 7 divided by 2/3. So let's change the 7 to 7 over 1, right? We're just putting it over 1, like all whole numbers. And then we're going to flip 3 over 2, right? Right here. We flipped it. We wrote it as the inverse. And now that I have that, I can go ahead and solve the second step, where I have 7 over 1, 3 over 2, right? As we just did at the top. And we multiply straight across. 7 times 3 is 21, and 1 times 2 is 2. So then how many 2's are there in 21? I can divide it. Actually, they really want us to show every little step, so I'm going to write it right there. So now it's 21 over 2. And when we divide it, we get 10, right? And we have 1 left over. Okay, it looks like we're ready to roll. If you know how to do this, go ahead and pause the video and just do it on your own, please. Challenge yourself. If not, continue with me. Okay, so we have 6 over 1 times 3 over 1. You see what I did there? Okay, I inverted the fraction. Now I just work straight through and I get 18. Right? 18 over 1. But guess what, boys and girls? We don't have to write this 1 right there. Just 18. All numbers are over 1. Okay, here we have 5 over 1. So I'll just write it 5 over 1 times 3 over 2. And when I do that, I'm going to work down here now. I'm going to do it there. I have 15 over 2. Yeah? Because I multiplied and multiplied right there. And now I have, how many? 7.5. There we go. Because you have to ask yourself, how many 2's are there in 15? Well, there are 7 of them. What do you have left over, remainder on the top? because 2 times 7 is 14, so you're going to have 1 left over, so you just write the 1 and you keep your denominator. Okay, and now I have 4 over 1 times 4 over 3. And I'm going to have 16 over 3. Right? How many 3's are there in 16? 5 of them. Because 3 times 5 is 15 with 1 left over. And I put my denominator back in, so it's 5 1/3. There we go. Example 6, we have a word problem. At summer camp, the duration of a field hockey game is 3/4 of an hour. The camp counselors have set aside 6 hours for field hockey. Games. How many games can be played? Okay, so we have 6 hours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And each hour only requires 3/4 of the hour. You see how an hour can be broken up into 4 parts? Well, we only need 3 parts. You see it right there, right? We only need 3 parts. So how many games can we play? So then we're just counting by 3 within all of these 6's until to see how many we get. So really what we're doing is we're going to divide 6 by 3/4 so that we can see how many 3/4 are in 6. Make sense? So we change it to its, we put it over 1, we change it to a multiplicative inverse. We cross-reference. Remember how we learned about cross-referencing the last lesson? We cross-reference to so we see that over here we have multiples of 3. So we put 1 there and we have two 3's there. Now I can just multiply straight across. 2 times 4 is 8 and 1 times 1 is 8. So it's 8. So we can play 8 hockey games. As always, please leave the guided practice for class so we can do it as a warm-up. But please complete the independent practice on your own. Okay, everyone, see you in class.